Hey guys, today I have for you our very last of the 2024 through 2025 homeschool year, what we've been reading in our homeschool. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Christina. I'm a homeschooling mom to 5 children, and we live in the Canadian Maritimes. Read alouds are a really big part of our homeschool. We have been doing them right since we started homeschooling, and we do them all together, which means this year I had children in grades 3, 6, 9, 10, and 12. So sometimes books are more geared towards younger children, sometimes the older children. Sometimes I try and find books that kind of everyone is going to enjoy and relate to. Sometimes we throw classics in there or more modern books. However, the majority of the books that I do focus on go along with the science and social studies for my youngest 2 children, because my oldest kids, they're going to be doing extra reading with their courses anyways. So this year that's Story of the World Volume 3, and I don't think we did any science ones in this last little bit. No, but it was all about like mammals. So from the last video, continuing on, the first book that we read, and I have my little notes here, is Stowaway by Karen Heese, and I think I'm saying that right. She's a writer who has done many like these kind of historical nonfiction books, fiction based, I guess. They're usually got some kind of historical fact to them for kind of the middle school ages. So this one in particular is about a child who stows away on Captain Cook's boat, and about the next, I think it was at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years of their travels around the world. And it's based on an actual voyage that took place. My kids gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was interesting. It did have a slower start to it, but once it kind of got going, it got more interesting. I think it has a lot of historical significance. It's not like, oh, this is such a wonderful journey. Like, it showed some of the true struggles and the heartache that they had, but also some really interesting things. It does have some older language in it. Just keep that in mind. Oh, and I think this one is considered a living book. It would be really fun to actually trace the journey on a map. It often gives, it's like in a journal format. So it often gives like, here we are like longitudinally and latitudinally, is that a word? So it would be fun to kind of trace this book that way on a map. We didn't do that, but that could be an idea. So yeah, that one was a good one. We enjoyed that one. The next one was Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus by Dusty Bowling. This is a somewhat newer book, at least the time where it takes place is newer. And it's a book about friendship and disability and finding out who you really are. It's a girl who was born without arms. And it's a story of her family moves and she makes some new friends and she kind of learns more about her own history and who she is and what she's able to do. My family gave it 4 out of 5 stars. They said that it was is really funny, and it is. It's quite funny. Some of the stuff they say is just out there. It also deals with things like adoption and bullying, and it was just a good one for all the kids. Everybody took something away from it that they really liked, so that was a definite win for us. The next book is this one here, Red Sails to Capri by Anne Wheel, I think is how you say that. I'll show you what it looks like inside. This was an interesting book. I've seen this book recommended through so many different reading lists, and I've actually had it on my shelf here for a little while. So I finally picked it up to read as it went along with our Story of the World. No one liked it that much. We gave it 3 out of 5. There was some interesting stuff, especially at the end, and it does relate to an actual place. But it was kind of confusing. Like, even I was confused about what time it was in history, what was going on. I wrote down that I wasn't a fan of the way the writing and the characters were. Yeah, I don't know. It had a little bit of adventure, but it's not something that I would say like, yeah, you should read this book. It just didn't do it for us. I don't know why. Sorry for those of you who love it, because I know lots of people love it, but it just wasn't for us. So then moving on, we read this book here, Betsy and the Emperor. And this one is by Staten Rabin. I have a feeling I'm saying that wrong. I'll give you a look inside this one. So this is a book about a girl named Betsy, and Napoleon Bonaparte when he is exiled for the second time. And it was really interesting. Let's see. Yeah, so everyone gave it 4 to 5 kind of stars, except for a couple really didn't like the book. I actually liked it quite a bit. I would give it, if I could give it half, I'd probably give it like 4.5. But it's interesting when you meet someone in a book, a character in a book, who is someone who is famous, who you've heard a lot about Bonaparte, but that it shows a different side of him or the character than what you're used to. And I think this book does that. It gave a lot of historical facts. It gave a lot of background information that I didn't know about Napoleon. And it really did just show like a different side to him. Now I have a note here that it does use a few words like hussy and the word for donkey, which I'm not gonna say. So it does have a bit of that language in there. And that there were some exciting parts to it, and that it just really makes you question what you know about this historical figure Napoleon. And there's always been rumors about Betsy and about her relationship with him, and so kind of makes you question what you know. But it was exciting and interesting, and that's one that I definitely recommend, probably for a little older kids, maybe grade 8 and up, maybe 7, but probably about grade 8 and up. Then we moved on to this book here, Henry Reed Inc. This is an older book. It's by, let's see, Keith Robertson. And I want to check. I think it was from the 40s. Yeah. Oh, 50s. 1958 it looks like. I'll show you the inside. This is a story about a boy, and it's actually a series. I think this is the first one in the series, about this boy named Henry Reed. And he goes, his parents, okay, let me try that again. His dad is a diplomat in another country. So he has moved around to many different countries, lived all over the world, and he gets sent back to the US to spend summer with his uncle, his mom's brother, and wife in this small town near, now I'm gonna get it wrong. Is it? Okay, I gotta check. Okay, I think it's Harvard. I think it's near Harvard, if I remember rightly. And he just kind of gets into all this trouble, and it's totally like innocent stuff. And it's funny because the uncle's always saying like, oh, you're just like your mom. Like she was always drawn to all these things. And like there's one part where everyone who kind of lives in this area is extremely smart. They're professors, they're the top of their field, and some things that happen are just pretty funny and just kind of, I mean, it's funny. I don't know how else to say it. So it wasn't like the best book ever, but it was pretty good. So my kids gave it 4 out of 5 stars. They really liked it, and it was a nice break. There wasn't really anything, I don't think, in here that was like not for younger kids. Because it's an older book, I find older books tend to be kind of more for multi-ages, and so I would recommend that book if you're looking for something fun to read. And it says on here there's also Henry Reed's Journey and Henry Reed's Babysitting Service. So maybe we'll check another one of those out next year. All right, then we moved on to this book here, African Town by Irene Lantham and Charles Waters. This is an interesting book because it's written, there's many different characters, and each character has their own little page and their own unique way that they speak, or in this case, the way it's written. So let me just show you real quick. Find one here. Like one of the main characters is always saying like D instead of the. Another one is written always from more words to fewer words. This one, it's written in this format. There's another one where they do each first letter of the word. Let's see, this character here. Where did that go? So they're going from one to many words. Let me find you. I believe it's one of the sons. Okay, I'll try and put a picture of what I'm thinking of, but where each letter of the first line makes up its own word. So there's all these different writing styles in it. It's based on the voyage of the Clotilda, which was the very last ship to bring slaves to the United States. It was actually after it had been declared illegal to do so, and they did it illegally, and it's the story of those slaves that were brought, how they were captured, their voyage, and what happened to them in the United States afterwards, up until, I want to say 40 years after they were brought. It was a really interesting book. I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the story, but my children in a reading format had trouble keeping up with which character was speaking and who was who. So perhaps an audio version would have been a better choice. When I'm the one reading it, you know, I can see who's speaking and I know the style of that character speaking. So mixed feelings about this. My kids were not huge for it. They gave it, where was it? They gave it like between like 1 and 4 stars. I ended up, I think 3 is kind of where we landed. It's very educational. It's definitely not one for very sensitive or super young children, because it is about slavery and some of the realities of slavery, but it's also really interesting historically to understand what happened and what was going on, and especially a little bit about before they were captured. That part of it was really interesting too. So if you can get the audio version, I'd recommend that for older children, or if you're having them read it like individually, but as a group read aloud, it's a difficult one. So then the last one we did is this one here, Maori and Settler, A Story of the New Zealand War by G.A. Henty. We did something which I don't think we've ever done before. We did not finish this book. I gave up on it. Let me show you this book. So this particular book, the only way I could find it was this format here. And I found it incredibly frustrating because the way things are set up, let me find an example. So like here's the pages, okay, but here is the new chapter right there. And the way it was written, there's like these random things in here. See if the camera will focus. There are spelling mistakes. Mr. Allen is spelled alien, or the Allens is spelled aliens in here like this. The 2 aliens. Let's see if the camera will show that. And then like this. There's a lot of mistakes in here, and I was getting so frustrated trying to read this. And then my husband actually found it online, and so we did talk to text, and we made it just over a third of the way through the book, and it was still really hard because talk to text is not like an audiobook. It's not as smooth. They were still like saying the page number every now and then, because even though this is like 100 pages, the actual book's 300 pages, and they note that in there. So we gave up, got frustrated and totally gave up. And it's too bad because the author G.A. Henty, we've listened to other books of his that I really like. I think audiobook is definitely the way to go with his works. This one doesn't have an audiobook that I could find, and this copy of it just drove me crazy. So I wish we could have gotten through it, but we didn't. So I don't know if I can even rate it because we didn't finish it. But that is everything that we have been reading in the last little while in our homeschool. Let me know if you have finished that Maori and the Settler book, because it'd be interesting to know if it's worth trying to go back and finish it at some point. But also let me know, what are you reading in your homeschool? What are you reading individually? What do you recommend? I love getting suggestions. Like I said, books are a huge part of our homeschool, and I personally love to read as well. So let me know in those comments down below. Otherwise, though, I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.